I thought what Ramona said about Klay was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting. Granny, do we have any of that? Do we have any?
I'm chopping up now. Give me a couple minutes.
Yeah, no,
she
take your
kind
time.
of played it on both sides a little bit because she talked about Klay's pride, and then at the same time she talked about Klay, taking less, being willing to put the pride aside and take less.
Said he's a Kobe guy.
Right, which I love to hear.
So that speaks to him.
But I don't believe that Kobe ever took less. I'd have to look at his contract breakdown. I remember in Kobe's last contract,
he did not.
When he was Sir Jack-a-lot.
I think it was 2 years and $48 million.
Which at the time was top of the market.
Yep.
And he proceeded to go out there and shoot the ball even when the other team had possession of it. He found a way to shoot. And, God love you, Kobe.
Well,
shoot the ball. They were bad.
Shoot your shot.
And people paid to watch him go out there and try to fill it up.
Of course. Well, and we also remember the last game as if all of them looked like that, when he scored 70 points. But
his last season was one of the least efficient years in the modern era of the association.
It's really fascinating because I painted the picture earlier this week. It's hard for Klay to stay because here he's going to be compared to his former self more than anywhere else. I think that's true. However, she also painted the picture of it's not like he's going to go somewhere else and be loved more. If you go somewhere else, you just like this dude that we signed to hit threes. You know what I mean? It's like, this is a bad comp because he's worn a bunch of jerseys, but it's like Chris Paul here. Anybody fall in love with him? Like you liked what he did, but you just looked at it in this like respectful sort of a way. Oh,
right.
Chris Paul, boy, I have a new appreciation for how Chris Paul can play basketball. Cool. All right, bye. No, you don't care about Chris Paul. You didn't fall in love. You didn't buy a jersey. There's none of that. So those are the things that are in play for Klay Thompson. Maybe you can get more money, maybe a little mental relief, but also a little more anonymity in Orlando or somewhere else. And I don't know if he wants that.
Right.
Like, it's not like he wants to, hey, everyone, look at me. But maybe Klay doesn't want to divorce himself from who he used to be because I think he really, really likes that guy. He's pretty impressed by him.
Right.
As we all are.
Yes, and there's a certain amount of comfort in familiarity, and you've spent your whole career here, and maybe it's not worth it to you to get an extra $7 million a year because it sounds to me, the more people we talk to and the more people I talk to offline, it seems like the Warriors' price is going to be low enough to where they can still squeeze in another guy in the mid-level. And if there is a team out there, as many have said, Bobby Marks and Eric Pincus and others, that his market could be up there near the $30 million a year mark. And if the Warriors are thinking more like, I'd rather pay you 18 or 19, and then we could squeeze in a mid-level on top of it. Hey, Klay, what do you think? That's a pretty big gulf between what he can take and what he might take.
Well, I was going to say another thing that she mentioned about Klay, but we suddenly have a better idea, courtesy of Mark Grandy. How about if we just let y'all hear it? This is a big chunk now. This isn't a sound clip. Here's 2.5 minutes from Ramona Sheburne, ESPN, specifically about the situation surrounding Klay Thompson.
A lot of people around the league have said, I think he would benefit from a change of scenery, right? Like a lot of people, when you talk and think and watch Klay Thompson. I also, though, I think that he really is a fighter, and I think he's really proud of the legacy he has with the Warriors. And so I think deep down, he's a Kobe guy. Kobe stayed. Kobe stayed with the Lakers. Like, he still ate first, and those teams were really bad at the end, but he stayed. And so I think if they approach him with respect, with an admiration for what he's done with the organization, if they approach him like ownership level, let's go to lunch, make him feel really good about, we appreciate everything you've done and your sacrifice. We understand, you'd be taking less here. Like, it's got to be on thick. Like, this is the same guy who, when he was not named one of the 75 best players of all time, like, really took that personally, really got upset. So there's a lot of pride that Klay has in himself and his game and his, appreciation for the role he's played over the years. And I think that, like, the way that they approach him and whatever they're going to try to sell to him is paramount. It's everything in how they go about it. You know, do I think he wants like a Stay Klay banner on the Chase Center? Probably not. It's maybe a little cheesy, right? Like, do they need a plane with that over the Bay Area? You know, I don't know if you need to go that far, but like, he needs to feel the love and he needs to feel the respect, because you're probably asking him to take less if he stays. And so, to me, that's paramount for him. Like, the word that keeps coming into my head is pride. Like, I think he's a very prideful man, prideful about his accomplishments and his abilities. And I think he knows more than anybody what he can and can't do still. He's very self-aware, you know, whether or not he handles it the right way all the time. You know, I think even he knows when he's not doing it right, you know, like he even admits it later, right? You know, there's a lot of players at the end of their careers where they take a deal elsewhere for more money or whatever. Like, do you remember when, like, Tony Parker signed with Charlotte?
Right.
Oh, my God.
So random. You know, there's like a lot of these moments where, like, the player decides to leave because, you know, they don't have as big a role or they have more money elsewhere or whatever. And they almost never work out well. They almost never, like, no one's ever going to love you like the team that you know, had your best years with. Now, you're going to be compared to that, but they're not going to love you like they did, you know, elsewhere. He goes, what is he going to go to Orlando and they're going to love him? You know, come on. Like, it's just not the same as staying with the organization that you grew up in.
So it's so interesting. It's not about money as much as role. So it's almost like, well, the Warriors need to, if they even want to, they say they do, they need to make a creative pitch to him. And it starts with, here's what we're going to offer you. That's not what you're going to want it to be, but here's why, and here's our vision, and make that less money feel respectful. I think it sounds to me like that's the play. In a way, it is like that. It's like, I know you want $30 million. We're going to offer you 18. Here's why that's a respectful thing, not a disrespectful thing. It's a respectful thing because, Klay, we can't afford you. We can't afford you. Like, it sort of isn't the right thing to do. But we love you so much. And you do offer us something that we need. You're one of the best shooters in the NBA, and we need shooting. And my God, we want you to finish your career here. And oh, by the way, we also want you to win. And the only way we can do that is by getting all of you guys some help. And the only way we can go get some help is if we can get you in here at a number that allows us to go do that. Who's with me?
This is so funny.
I mean,
no, and
I'm just playing a role here.
I like your pitch, and you know, it really is going to kind of sound like that, where it starts out with, you know, Klay, it's 19-5, and we really value you coming off the bench, and, you know, 19-2, and we think that we can win with you. 18.75 is what we're going to be able to pay you, and, you know, if you think about it, Klay, if we can get you in for 18.2, we can get the help around you that we all know that you need. 2 years and 35, 17 and a half a year. What do you think, Klay? You could play with Steph and Draymond, $16 million a year. Veteran minimum. How about it, Klay? Sign right here. Are you in? You talk him all the way down with all that sweet whispering in his ear. But Ramona's, the way she portrayed it is right. It's really two things. On the one hand, we know you can get a lot more money somewhere else. And on this hand over here, the power of doing what Kobe did, your hero and your role model, being a one-team guy, staying with the big three, boating from Tiburon, Golden State Warrior for life, what that means for, like you've talked about, the legacy of anyone.
Totally.
Dirk Nowitzki as a one-team guy. Tony Parker was a Hornets.
Yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon was a Raptors. And you could go all the way through Karl Malone and all the other legends who didn't do the one-team thing. There is value in that. So, yeah, you're going to take a $12, $13, $14 million haircut in the short term. But, Klay, think about what that means for your legacy.
I don't know, by the way. You know, there was a time last year where he hated the idea, thought it was disrespectful coming off the bench. By the end of the year, listening to him talk, I don't know if he was being honest or not, but listening to him talk, he was like, no, I get it now. I get it. This is actually better for me. I just need to have fun. I just need to enjoy the remainder of my career.
Right.
And we want to have some, if they can convince him that, like, yeah, being a sixth man and gunning your face off and just coming in and hitting threes for 28 minutes a night and staying healthy instead of doing 36 minutes a night, we're all staring at you, trying to create your own shot or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? That's the way to go. If they can convince him of that, there's a shot. There's a shot for this all to work. Now, listen, you know this. I'm no capologist.
Right.
We look at the numbers right now, and almost every time it's like, well, none of this makes sense. But I'm starting to arrive at a spot of where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I know, right, apron, second apron, tax, we're getting under, we're not doing it for this kind of a team, that kind of a team. I just still only sort of believe them. I only sort of believe them. I think they're being genuine. I just think if the fancy thing comes walking into the room, Joe's going to still be ready to pay. I think he's going to be ready to pay if the right thing comes walking along. How can you in the same sentence be like, second apron, this is ridiculous, luxury tax, gotta get, we're not doing this for the 10 seed. 2 months ago, you were calling about LeBron. 2 months ago, you tried to get LeBron James.
Well, you were already over the second apron, so that would have been a short-term fix and then figured out in the offseason.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And by the way, she just said again, they're going to go kick the tires again. How are you going to have a conversation with LeBron James on one side of your face, and on the other side of your face, you're like, we gotta stop spending money. How are you going to do that?
I do think that the second apron is a hard line. And I think it's 95 to 100% chance that they stay below that because of all the penalties that go with being a repeater. But that number's darn near 200 million, right? It's north of 190. So there are things that you can do creatively. And the key to this is Klay comes in, if he stays at about 19 or 20, that allows you to use the mid-level. And if you can then use Chris Paul's contract somehow in the trade, then you can get a piece in here to actually improve your roster while keeping Klay at a decent number. It is possible.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I really do believe that. You've watched too many sports teams
Especially
tell us.
This team.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They turned KD, I'm leaving, and they turned him into D'Angelo Russell, which turned into Wiggins
and Kuminga.
And a title.
Yes.
So the guy was leaving, KD. You convinced him to sign and trade, which led to you being able to win another chip.
By the way, thank you for bringing that up because, I'd just like to say this to anyone who's called this radio station in the last year to rip the Warriors GM for being a dummy because he doesn't know how to get a tall person in here. Bob Myers, remember yesterday? Bob Myers set this team up for failure. Remember all those calls?
Yeah.
Can you please remember that for a second? They turned their angry departing star into someone who, A, helped them win a championship.
Two of them.
And another person who might be their only future big-time asset. Not bad.
Right.
Not bad. Skills and Vallejo on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Skills. What you doing?
What's up, Willard? What's up, Dibs? I am currently just chilling here at the crib and pretending to do my daughter's homework for her.
Nice.
Very good.
But anyway, the reason I called is because I remember when they brought in Steph Curry initially, when they let him sink or swim. He played like 80 games his rookie year. They brought in Klay Thompson, sat him for half a year. Then he was sink or swim. And if the Warriors aren't going to completely overhaul the roster, which I'm on record as supporting, then what I would like to see them do instead is at least try to get someone to take Wiggins' salary, let Kuminga sink or swim, give him at least a quarter of the season, let him play, see how he responds to that, because he did well last year when he didn't have Wiggins. He didn't have to look over his shoulder for Wiggins. And that's just what I wanted to say. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Skills, thank you. I hear this from a lot of people, what Skills just said. And you'll never get a criticism from me for having this opinion. You're welcome to it. I get it. But my brain goes to the same place every time. And it's this. They're not doing that. I get it if you want them to can we just put the young people in there and see what they can do? I get it, but the answer is no.
It's going to be a no?
No.
From them?
No, that's going to be a no from them, dog. No, they can't do that. They can't do that because Steph Curry. And if you think that means the guy is holding the organization hostage, they disagree with you. I disagree with you. I don't think it's a hostage situation. I think he's a really good player, and they would like to put their best foot forward. They are not of the mind of, hey, let's try this and see what happens. That's not the tone. Hey, put them in. Let's see. That's not where their head is. And I get that too. Like, they may be wrong, but they're going to die trying. Them's the ropes.
Right. And if you really want to look at it, last year they did go ahead and play the young guys. If you look at minutes played on the Golden State Warriors,
it's a good point.
Number 3 was a 20-year-old, and number 4 was a 21-year-old. They played more minutes than Wiggins, Paul, Green, and Looney. That was the Poughkeepsie kid and J.K. And a lot of that was because of injury, but also because Podziemski earned his minutes early on, and Kuminga turned out to be a real force for this team. So for anyone who says they didn't play the young guys, they actually did play the young guys. And if you look at the last 25 games of the year, TJD was among the top 6 in minutes played as well.
No doubt. No, it's a good point and worth talking about for a sec. I know why that thought is out there. It has felt that way in the past, and it did. Like, if there's one thing this year that felt like not Steve Kerr's best resume moment, it's not the Moody stuff. It's really not.
Oh, I thought that's what you were going to say.
No, I get it. I like him too. It was frustrating at times. He's admitted it. The thing that I thought ended up looking bad for Steve Kerr is that Jonathan Kuminga finally started getting big minutes after Twitter. Like, Twitter put Jonathan Kuminga into the game. Not Steve. If you're the head coach, you want to put him in, not Shams. But Jonathan was having a stop-start kind of a situation. There was that game in Portland where he was not in the, quote, not in the plan, not in the game plan. Then he got thrown in the second half, won them a basketball game, essentially by himself. And then there was another game where he got taken out down the stretch, and Shams came out with a tweet. Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr, lost faith in the Warriors staff as to being the one that can help him grow into the player he's going to be. And from that moment forward, Jonathan got a lot more minutes. That's not a good look.
Right. Even though it worked out when, coming off that game against Denver where he sat 18 minutes and Kuminga, I lost faith.
Yep. And
then next thing you know, he throws him in there for a ton of minutes. And, it was Detroit. Next night he played 35 and a half minutes. It's like, okay,
yep,
go crazy.
You're in.
And ever since then, and part of it was the Draymond injury, which, Steve is able to use that not as an excuse, but that definitely was something that propelled Kuminga to get more minutes as well. The fact that you didn't have Draymond for about a month.
Yeah. I just, but what you bring up is also really fair. There's moments like that Kuminga thing that I just detailed that sort of make people feel something was happening that wasn't happening. There's the Moody deal, in, out, out. And then there's Kuminga having to seemingly beg his way into minutes. And that has that sort of brought forward this thought that I think is in the minds of many in this fan base, going, boy, Steve just won't give the young people a shot. Meanwhile, Podziemski and Poughkeepsie Kid and Pazowski, they're running around getting huge minutes every night. And then TJD in the end as well.
Do you remember how Podziemski got his first real action?
I don't.
It was that Minnesota game early in the year where Steph was already out with a minor injury. Klay and Draymond get ejected early, and Steve's like, well, I have no one else to go to but Podziemski.
Right. That's right.
And then ever from that moment on, he was in the rotation.
Yep. And he also, like Steve has talked about this, I think Podziemski really impressed people behind the scenes. Like we've gotten all the reports of the fact that this guy super confident, backs down from no one, right? Like you're a rookie and you come in and you in practice, you tell Draymond, hey, this is what we're doing. And people are like, damn, okay, this guy's got a little something here. So yeah, maybe it was super wonky at times with the way it came together. The second half of the year, they did play. They played a ton. And we still have a lot of fans going, right. we got to see what they can do. Turn the game on. They're doing it.
Grandy, I'm really glad you brought that back around because now when we think about it, that was November 14th, and here we are May 8th, and everybody, Minnesota, let's plan the parade. And Steiny was talking earlier about a guy by the name of Jaden McDaniels, and at the time, back in November, there wasn't a lot of buzz about Jaden McDaniels, yet he and Klay get tangled up. Here comes Draymond to grab Gobert. Chokosaurus, here we go. A minute 43 into the ball game. McDaniels gone. Thompson gone. Green gone. Gobert, I can't breathe. You got to go to the Poughkeepsie kid. 39 minutes, 23 points later, the Warriors lose a gutsy in-season tournament game at home, 104-101. But when you look back at that now, it's like, it's a pretty good loss against maybe the eventual NBA champs. Think about what we think now about Minnesota versus at that moment, Mark.